Have you ever felt like you're trapped in an endless spiral? Every day, the numbers on your bills climb higher, but your bank account balance keeps shrinking. Gas prices, food prices, housing, everything seems to be working against you. And you wonder, how can I get through all of this? Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a familiar neighborhood, but today, it's different. The familiar stores are closed. A for sale sign hangs on the houses that were once filled with laughter. And in a small kitchen, a father is staring down at unpaid bills. The mother, with dark circles under her eyes, tries to offer a weak smile to the children. But they all feel it, don't they? The sense of insecurity spreads like a silent storm waiting to hit. The economic crisis doesn't just attack your wallet, it weighs heavily on your mind, suffocating hope and sowing seeds of fear. But while the world seems to be drowning in chaos, there is one man, Michael, who remains calm. Amidst the park, covered with golden fallen leaves, he sits there, as if the storms outside cannot touch his soul. Why does a crisis make us so afraid? Is it because of the constantly changing numbers in the market? Or because of the possibility of losing a job, home, or our children's future? In reality, our fear doesn't come from what's happening around us, but from how our brains react to it. When stress strikes, our bodies begin to release cortisol. And at that moment, the brain doesn't distinguish between a financial threat and a predator rushing toward us. It only knows one thing: run. Think about this. You're standing in a supermarket watching prices skyrocket. Your brain immediately activates a signal: danger, financial instability. And so, instead of figuring out how to deal with it, we drown in worry. But have you ever asked yourself, is this really beyond my control? How we respond to a crisis is what makes all the difference. And here's where Stoicism comes in, like a beacon guiding the way through the storm. Stoicism sounds a bit unfamiliar, right? But in reality, it's a treasure trove of wisdom that has lasted for over 2,000 years, and it remains just as valuable today. Marcus Aurelius, a great Roman emperor, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." These words are not just theory, they are the key to facing a crisis without being consumed by it. Michael understands this. He's not a philosopher nor a politician. He's just an ordinary man living in a world full of uncertainty. But he knows one thing: if he can't control inflation or prices, he can control himself. And the first thing he does, he takes time to reflect, not on what he's lost, but on what he can still do. He opens a book on Stoicism, reading and rereading the words like a reminder. Nothing can harm you unless you allow it. This is not magic, it's a choice, and you can choose it too. On a cool morning, as the weak sunlight filtered through the tree branches, Michael entered his familiar grocery store. He wasn't looking for anything special, just his everyday essentials. But when he glanced at the price list, something strange happened. Instead of disappointment or anger, a slight smile appeared on his face. He remembered the words of Epictetus, the famous Stoic philosopher. Do not demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do. This is the key to finding peace. For Michael, the price list was no longer an enemy. It was simply a reality he could not change. For most people, seeing prices skyrocket is a painful reminder of what they are losing: money, comfort, and sometimes faith in the future. But Michael was different. Instead of letting reality drown him, he had learned to maintain his mindset, not by ignoring the pain, but by embracing it. One day, Michael heard news about an old friend, James, a financial officer who had lost his job in the crisis. When Michael found him, James was sitting on the steps of a building, his head bowed, beside a box containing a few personal belongings. James spoke, his voice trembling. Everything fell apart so quickly, Michael. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel useless, as if I have no value left. Michael quietly listened. Then he said something James didn't expect. James, your value isn't in the job or assets you have. It's in how you face adversity. If you let failure define you, you'll always be a failure. But if you choose to focus on what you can control, your attitude, health, and will, you'll find a new path. James looked at Michael, his eyes filled with tears. But in that moment, he saw a glimmer of light. It was the power of changing how you view failure. This is the psychology of resilience. When we face a crisis, we have two choices. Let fear dominate us or learn to adapt and rise stronger. But how can we do this? Michael didn't just talk the talk. He lived according to Stoic principles. He began by writing down two lists. On one side, the things he couldn't control, like inflation, unemployment, or prices. On the other, he listed the things he could do, like planning his finances, cutting unnecessary spending, and, most importantly, maintaining a positive attitude. And you? Have you ever tried doing this? Take a pen and paper and write it down. Don't let fear control you. Instead, control how you face it. Michael didn't just apply these lessons to himself. He knew that to truly overcome the crisis, he needed the support of his family. One evening, the entire family gathered around the kitchen table. Michael placed a large sheet of paper in front of them and said, "We'll do this together. We'll find a way through this." He, his wife, and children listed all their expenses and then worked together to find ways to cut back. But more importantly, they didn't just talk about money. They talked about their emotions, their worries, and even the hopes they still held in their hearts. When they finished, something magical happened. Instead of feeling lost, they felt stronger. They realized they weren't alone. And that was something the crisis could never take away: the power of unity. One morning, Michael sat in his small kitchen, holding a warm cup of coffee. In front of him was a notebook. This wasn't just any notebook. It was the one he used to jot down his small actions every day. He believed that while he couldn't control the world, he could still control himself, step by step. What did he write? Simple things. Today, I will not worry about what I cannot change. Or, I will focus on completing one small but meaningful task. And some days he only wrote one sentence. Thank you for giving me today. These small actions didn't make inflation go away, but they helped Michael maintain balance little by little in a world full of change. But Michael knew that it wasn't just attitude that made a difference. It was disciplined action that truly created change. He recalled a quote from Seneca, the Stoic philosopher: "Prosperity never lasts forever, nor does adversity. But those who live with discipline will overcome all circumstances." So Michael began to plan the family's finances. He stopped unnecessary spending, not because he wanted to sacrifice, but because he wanted to focus on what was most important. He learned to cook at home instead of eating out. He sought part-time jobs to supplement his income, even though they weren't easy. Do you see it? These weren't grand actions, but small, steady steps. You can do it too. It all starts by asking yourself, what can I control today? No matter how strong he was, Michael couldn't avoid the dark days. One day, he received news that the company was going to lay off staff. Michael, who had once thought he was safe, suddenly found himself among those affected. It was a shock. Michael sat in his car, staring off into the distance. I did everything right, yet, he thought to himself. But instead of sinking into despair, he remembered what he had learned from Stoic philosophy. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. Michael stepped out of the car. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew he couldn't let fear define his life. And the first step, he decided to find a new path forward. After losing his job, Michael started a blog to document his journey, how he faced the economic crisis, and how Stoic philosophy helped him stay resilient. He shared the lessons he had learned, not only to help himself, but also to help others. Michael wrote, "If you feel lost, remember that resilience doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. We can't change our circumstances, but we can change ourselves to adapt to them. And you can do that too. Every challenge is a lesson. Every difficulty is an opportunity for growth. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving forward." A year later, Michael found a new job. No, it wasn't a high-paying or prestigious job, but he was content because he knew he had grown stronger than before. The economic storms no longer scared him because he had learned how to live like a sturdy ship in the vast ocean. Michael still kept his old notebook. Every morning he wrote, "I don't know what today will bring, but I know I will embrace it with my whole heart and composure." And as he reflected on his journey, he realized that the crisis didn't weaken him. It had helped him become the best version of himself. Do you want to be like Michael? Do you want to rise after every fall, learn to control your mind and emotions instead of letting circumstances control you? If the answer is yes, remember, it all starts with one simple decision. The decision to focus on what you can control, yourself. Michael knew that to maintain resilience in life, he needed more than discipline and a positive mindset. He also needed one other crucial thing: gratitude. You might wonder, how can you be grateful when everything is falling apart? For Michael, the answer lay in finding the small things he still had. Every night before bed, he would write down 3 things he was grateful for. Maybe a simple meal that was enough, a meaningful conversation with his kids, or simply the health he still had. Gratitude doesn't change circumstances, but it changes the way we view those circumstances. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, there is always light. One thing Michael realized through the economic crisis was that he couldn't face everything alone. He needed a community, not just to receive help, but also to give it. Michael started attending a local support group where people shared their difficulties and found solutions together. He shared lessons from Stoic philosophy, helping others maintain their spirits during tough times. But the most surprising part was that when Michael helped others, he felt healed himself. That's the power of sharing. It not only soothes the pain of others, but it also soothes your own. Finally, Michael decided to share the principles he had learned and how to apply them to everyday life. These are lessons that anyone can use, especially during difficult times. 1. Focus on what you can control. Don't waste energy on things out of your hands. Focus on your mindset, attitude, and actions. 2. Accept adversity as part of life. As Marcus Aurelius once said, we are born to face challenges, just as fire is born to burn. 3. Practice gratitude every day. Write down things you're grateful for, no matter how small. 4. Seek community and help others. Isolation only makes us weaker. Share, learn, and grow together. 5. Always learn and improve yourself. Crisis is an opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Now, Michael was no longer just a man who had survived the crisis. He had become a stronger father, an inspiring friend, and a person living with a clearer purpose than ever before. As he stood on the beach, looking out at the vast ocean, he reflected on everything he had been through. And he understood that every wave hitting the shore had meaning. They didn't destroy, they only reshaped. Just like life, crisis is not the end. It's a new beginning. And what about you? Will you let the waves drown you, or will you learn to ride them? Remember, what you can control isn't the ocean, it's yourself. That is true strength, the strength of resilience.
If you feel inspired by this story, please hit the like button to support us, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or the Zen stories you want to hear next. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next inspirational and peaceful moments. Your interactions are a source of encouragement for our journey. Thank you for accompanying us on the path of wisdom and enlightenment.